Welcome back to the programme. I'm Nima Abouarte. As governments fell in Tunisia and Egypt, events were dubbed by some as a Twitter revolution because of the important role that social media played at the height of protests. With 200 million Twitter users globally and the number of users in the Middle East trebling in the past year, this week the company began trying to make money from that growth by letting companies pay to put adverts on people's Twitter feeds. So with the last few years being instrumental in terms of political change in this region and those changes reflected on Twitter, how has that impacted the way it's done business here? That's a question that Katy put to Shailesh, Twitter's Vice President of International Revenue.
Twitter tends to be used as a platform for open conversation when there are significant events happening in the real world. Obviously, there have been tremendous changes, tremendous activity in the Middle East region, and not surprisingly, Twitter has been a platform for conversation about what people are seeing and observing, how they're feeling, and what they think about the events happening around them in the region. What we like to believe is that Twitter provides a voice to anyone who can use the service to communicate what they think, what they're interested in, and it allows people to connect with their interests in a seamless and easy way.
Twitter is very well known for its freedom of expression and people being able to tweet what they like, but it also can be controversial, especially in this region. There are governments, for example, in Kuwait and Qatar, who have imprisoned people for their tweets. So how do you deal with that when it comes to working in this region? Well,
our goal is to provide the service so that any user can express what they want. But of course, we want those forms of expression to be consistent with the laws of the various countries around the world.
Do you get into trouble, or do you ever come under pressure from governments who are concerned with what's going on?
Well, our job is to continue to engage all stakeholders in the process of understanding what our platform does, how it works, what our terms and conditions are, and to make sure that we defend the voice of our users. And that's what we do around the world.
Do governments get involved, or do they get in touch with you to talk to you about kind of their concerns?
Of course. I mean, governments are a key stakeholder in that conversation, and it's our job to be engaged and listen and to provide information and clarify. Anytime you have a new technology or a new service, it's incumbent on the provider of that service to be available to provide information, clarification, and educate. And we spend a lot of time with government stakeholders and other organizations around the world, making sure that we can provide the information necessary to understand the way the service works.
What do you say to critics who don't want to engage with brands, they want to engage with fellow users, and they don't want any advertising?
Don't engage with those tweets. Just like anybody else, a promoted tweet is the same like any other tweet. It includes content information that in this case comes from a brand. If a user is not interested in that tweet, they don't have to engage with that tweet. The good thing for the brand is that they only pay for tweets that users engage with, which means they click on it, they favorite it, they retweet it, they reply to it. So we're really holding ourselves to a standard, which is that if the tweet is interesting to the user, they will engage with it. Otherwise, we don't get paid. And we like that kind of incentive because it encourages us and the brand to make sure that the content's relevant to the user.
Twitter's Shailesh speaking to Katy Watson there. Now let's see what other stories have been making business headlines across the region this week. Kuwait has moved a step closer to writing off debts owed by its people. The finance and